Hi, my name is Molly, and I'm the project archivist at Aberdeen City and Aberdeenshire Archives. I've been hired specifically to work on the Harbour Board collection as part of the Archives Revealed scheme. This scheme, funded by the National Archives and the Pilgrim Trust, is intended to increase accessibility of collections through effective cataloguing and outreach. The records which the Aberdeen Harbour Board deposited with us start in the early 1800s and end in 1960. This material will help us put together the story of how the harbour, its employees, and the city operated throughout this period. The archive itself is reminiscent of other business collections and contains records concerning administration, finance, operations, legal, property, and staff, as well as photographs and scrapbooks. This has definitely been the weirdest job I've worked on. Excluding the week to familiarise myself in December, I had about 3 months with the collection before lockdown was imposed, and we were no longer allowed to go into the office. Despite this, I managed to catalogue 516 volumes with the help of some existing Scottish Records office lists and 154 boxes to file level. This is a considerable amount of material, and I was already ahead of schedule. I had to rework my plan several times, but by the end of 2020, all the material will be locatable and therefore accessible to the public. I originally created lists using an Excel spreadsheet for ease, and I am uploading the information to our cataloguing system, CALM. CALM uses a hierarchy tree to show you the levels of the records. For example, here you can see that AHB2 contains the financial records, which are in turn split into more sections including account ledgers and bonds and assignations. Once this is complete, there will be a series of levels which can be navigated. This will explain what the record is as well as where it can be found in the archive. Archives aim to preserve records in the original order in which they were made. The majority of this collection is catalogued by function, for example, administration, financial, and operations. However, there is a large section of records which has been kept alphabetically in a filing cabinet. This has been absorbed as part of the administration series, but the order is being maintained using the red index card files which were found in the boxes with the files. This series is particularly fascinating because of how eclectic it is. It has files regarding wide-scale operations, as well as small details such as state visits and Canadian cattle imports. A large part of the collection is from 1940 to 1950, and therefore the Second World War features quite heavily. One of my favourite files is called Demobilisation, and it's made up of a few smaller files which fill an entire box. It also contains a lot of documents marked secret, which are always very exciting. It basically contains all the information required for action in the event of an enemy attack and explains who oversaw what. It's really interesting reading and recalls the main plan was to stop the enemy getting further than the port and to regain control in 7 days. It also lists the final drastic action should Aberdeen be overwhelmed. Petroleum stocks were to be destroyed, block ships sunk, and the overall disruption of telephone and electrical power. There is a significant amount of material in the collection relating to the fishing industry. Amongst this is a run of 93 ledgers starting in 1881, which documents the salmon sales made in the fish market. This is a great resource because it shows us how the fishing industry was faring in Aberdeen over a long period of time. It contains information on sales, equipment inventories, staff contracts, wage bills, correspondence, pamphlets, and newspaper clippings. These ledgers are not standardised and instead hand-sewn, which means that more paper can be added in, so they're all quite different. Although lockdown has limited the levels of collection works I can do, it has meant that we've been able to work on new ways to develop outreach. We had originally planned a transcription project based around the arrival ledgers during March with a local charity called Code the City. They aim to develop people's coding skills as well as creating tools to improve digital information about the city. We were aiming to photograph some of the arrivals ledgers, which could be taken into the event, transcribed, and then the coders could work with the data to make it more widely accessible. With the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic, the event was moved entirely online, and I believe this has created a better project. We released the images of ledgers from 1914 to 1920, which I had photographed, with the transcription templates at the start of April. members of the public started to transcribe, and so far we have transcribed over 25,000 records from 638 pages. We have had students, members of the council, maritime enthusiasts, archivists, and even an ex-ship captain contribute to the transcriptions. And now we have a really great picture of what was arriving in the harbour during the First World War. There is even a running daily commentary by the clerk describing events in the city and on the continent. The one in the bottom right-hand corner tells us about the armistice. The massive data has been picked up by one of the Code the City volunteers, and he has created a full website which translates the information from the spreadsheet into something more visual. We now have graphs of vessels, an on this day feature, and we can even trace the weather day to day. This has been a great achievement and one of the really positive things to come out of the lockdown. This is only a small part of what the Harbour Board archive holds. It is an incredibly rich collection which documents the history of the city as well as the business. If you have any questions or would like to book an appointment to see the documents, please email us on archives@aberdeencity.gov.uk.